What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Cracker Crumbs update. I got my delivery. Yes. Lots of fun. I did actually get a chance to read almost all the stuff that I got today. Well, I got the around 2 o'clock, and now it's 11 at night. But I'll show you. This is why I find Midtown a little weird, because they're claiming I wasn't getting them, but I got them, and people know what I'm talking about. The Amazing Spider-Man number 700, and I got a chance to read it, which I'm going to go over a little later. But I can see why it was $8 now. This bitch is thick. But I really like that cover. I thought it was pretty damn cool. Which I will discuss it later, but let me show you the rest of the haul. I got this variant one of Amazing Spider-Man 700. I thought that was a really cool cover. And another one, another variant. Another one I thought was a really cool cover. It's actually, if you get close, you can see it's got Spider-Man's, well, friends and family, Aunt May, Mary Jane. And then on the top, you see Spider-Man fighting the Green Goblin. And I got this variant, because I thought that was cool. Him swinging through the city. And last but not least, on the variants, I got the Midtown exclusive, which is going to coincide with the Superior Spider-Man #1 exclusive. But I'm a little pissed about this one, because it said that on the cover it says $7.99, but the bastards charged me $10. Oy. But I'll get into that later. I got the Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, which is actually a continuation of Amazing Spider-Man 700. I got Uncanny X-Men #151, which is a back issue. It's only cost me $1. It's actually a little better condition than good. It's only got like a little crease right in the corner. Other than that, it was in pretty good shape, and not bad for $1. I got the Green Lantern's New Guardians #15. Justice League #15, which is the Throne of Atlantis beginning. Aquaman #15, which is part 2, I believe. Pretty cool cover. And last but not least, but 2 back issues I got. Superman in Action Comics #665. Just thought that was a pretty morbid looking cover. But it was only 85 cents, so that's not bad. And another one that was only 85 cents, which is pretty cool, because it actually is in a lot better condition than what it says. Action Comics Weekly #602. Which is actually the death of Katma Tui, one of the Green Lanterns that was in with John Stewart. And it's got some other stories in there. It's got like Dead Man, Superman, a couple other stories. Sportsmaster, I think's in here. That was a cool cover. I liked it. And it was interesting. All right, now I got a chance to read pretty much every single book I just showed you, except for the Throne of Atlantis stuff. So we're gonna have to put this to the side. And I pretty much did a review on this one, so we're gonna move on. Going to go backwards. This one was alright. Basically, it has really nothing to do with what the cover suggests, sort of. Basically, Superman fights like this voodoo guy, and he resurrects these people that he basically makes them look like they're dead, and they're really not, and then like brings them back from the grave, so they think they're zombies, and they're really not. It was alright. The Green Lantern New Guardians was actually pretty cool. Kyle Rayner again is trying to, I guess, accomplish something that's never been done and collect be able to power, I guess, every part of the lanterns. You know, the orange, the yellow. He's got them all down except for orange and violet. So he goes to Larafleeze to learn how to use the orange ring. And works out pretty good. Wasn't a bad book. Uncanny X-Men 151, where Kitty Pryde leaves the team. Basically, I believe what it is Emma Frost does something to Kitty's parents and convinces them to have her leave Xavier's school and come to her school. And she tells Storm, like, hey, this is, Emma Frost's school, and I want to go there. Obviously there's something going on. And Storm drives her to the new school, and then Emma Frost winds up swapping her mind with Storm's mind. Kind of like Spider-Man. But it wasn't bad. Plus it was $1, so nice plus. Alrighty. Well, I'm not going to get into this one just yet, because I'm going to get into the 700. Alrighty. One thing I'm pissed, well, not entirely pissed. Well, one, when I got this thing, I thought this thing was actually ripped because it had this huge line going across. I'm like, you son of a bitch. But it was just the bag, thank God. And the one thing I was actually pissed, the variants all were in perfect shape, which was nice. But of course, when I opened up the regular cover, the back of it had this huge friggin' handprint on it. And I'm like, oh God. So I sent an email to Midtown, and I'm just like, oh God, man, you guys are killing me. And they said that they don't know if they have any more regular covers, but they're going to look into it and try to track it from their other store, and they're going to send me another one. Ain't bad, I guess. So I'll have 2 of these, which would be nice. But let's get into this. This is interesting, but disappointing at the same time. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? Since I'm a Spider-Man fan, everybody knows mostly, Batman and Spider-Man are my characters. Basically what happens in this thing is, from the previous issues, Doc Ock switches his mind with Spider-Man's. So Doc Ock's mind is now in Spider-Man's body, and Spider-Man's mind is in Doc Ock's body, which is apparently dying. In the last issue, Doc Ock escapes the raft and, you know, tries to figure out how the hell he's going to switch things back. And in this issue, which was just, I don't know, it I'll tell you why it gets to me in a moment. I'm just going to try to go through it. Doc Ock is kind of living it up, like, you know, well, Spider-Man's, it's going to get confusing. But he's living Spider-Man's life. So he's all excited. He's like, oh, you know, I have this youthful body now. I have all these powers. I have, you know, my Mary Jane. I have this. I have that. And basically, like, he's sitting with Mary Jane. They're watching TV or whatever, and he's like basically trying to get some ass. And he tells her to say the famous line, "You just hit the jackpot, Tiger." And she opens up his shirt and sees that he's got the Spider-Man uniform on, and well, costume. And she's like, "Oh my God, you're Spider-Man." He's like, "Of course I am." He's like, "You know, you've known for years that I'm Spider-Man." He's like, "Why do you act so surprised?" And basically, like, it almost kind of forfeits everything that happened beforehand, where it's like, "Oh yeah, we did all this stuff so they wouldn't know each other, but now they know each other." Stupid. But then he gets like some kind of thing that he knows that Doc Ock escaped, and he's like, "Settle down, woman. You know, who's got to go?" So it's just like, I was like, "Oh my God." And Doc Ock, well, Peter Parker, came up with the idea to get the supervillains try to help him, you know, take down Spider-Man or whatever it is. And Peter Parker, well, Spider-Man, Doc Ock Spider-Man, Spider-Ock, that's what we call him. He's like, you know, Doc Ock escaped. I'm out of here. So he buys a ticket to Belgium, and he's like, he can't, you know, and he goes to like the ticket counter, and she's like, "Oh, you know, when do you want to come back?" He's like, "Oh, tomorrow." And she's like, "Well, you're going to be in the air for like 12 hours, you know, by the time." He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "You know, sometimes 12 hours is a lifetime, you know." So he was basically running away from you know, Spider-Man, I guess. And then decides against it because he didn't want to be labeled a coward, because J. Jonah Jameson was kind of going on a rant that, you know, Doc Ock and Spider-Man, they're little bitches, and, you know. Anyway, Doc Ock finally gets into a fight with Spider-Man in Avengers Tower. And you think that Spider-Man is going to, you know, well, Doc Ock is going to win and get his, you know, switch the brains back. And another thing that was kind of interesting in the beginning, you actually see, like, Doc Ock kind of flatlines with, you know, Peter Parker. And he winds up in heaven, basically, and Gwen Stacy's there, and Uncle Ben is there, his parents are there. And they're just saying, you know, you can't stay. And he's just kind of pissed because he's like, you know, all the things I do, and he goes, and I haven't earned a spot. And Uncle Ben was basically, he's like, you know, as far as I'm concerned, he's like, everything is balanced. He's like, don't, you know, try to do things to honor me anymore. Is it because you've done enough and all this stuff? He goes, but you can't let this madman run around as you. He's like, because he's going to do more damage than anything else. So he's like, you have to go back, you have to fight. And that's when you kind of get riled up. You're like, yeah, he's going to kick his ass. And the thing that pissed me off is Doc Ock, like, just, well, Peter Parker, Doc Ock. I said it's confusing as hell. Is basically down to like his last couple like minutes. Like, Peter Parker's like, my lung collapsed and my eye went blind, you know, my liver's done. He's like, I can barely breathe. And Spider-Man, who's, you know, now Doc Ock, is saying, he's like, you know, face it, you've lost, you can't beat me. And Peter's just basically, and Doc Ock's like, you know what, you got you got a point, and just spears him through the window of Avengers Tower. And as they're falling, he pulls out this golden Octobot that basically switched their brains, and he tries to switch his mind with Spider-Man and vice versa. And apparently Doc Ock Spider-Man was ahead of him and had like a cranium thing implanted so he can't have his mind switched as they fall from like freaking like 40 stories or some crap like that. When they land, like, you're like, all right, now what the hell's gonna go on? Because Doc Ock is like, he says he's like, I'm snapped in two. He's like, I can't even, I don't have the energy to even move my mechanical arms. He's like, I'm broken in half. I'm pretty much done. And it's like, how the hell is he gonna switch? Because you're kind of like I said, for me being a Spider-Man fan, Spider-Man's always been Peter Parker. So you're like, how the hell is he gonna switch, the body back? And he calls over Spider-Man, and he's like, he realizes that the memories are two-way streets. So he's like, when you die, you're supposed to experience your entire life flash before your eyes. So that pretty much is what happens. And Doc Ock is picking it up as Spider-Man, like he's getting all Spider-Man's memories as he goes. And he's like, oh, but instead of seeing it as Peter Parker, you see it as Otto Octavius going through everything Spider-Man went through, like, the radioactive spider, Aunt May, everything, Uncle Ben getting shot, like, everything is. And you see Peter Parker as Dr. Octopus. He pulls Spider-Man close, and he's like, you have to promise me that you're going to protect everybody and protect, and fight crime and do all this stuff. And Doc Ock is like, I finally realized what you're all about, and I promise you that I'm going to be a better Spider-Man than you ever were. And he's like, well, you have to promise me you're going to take care of Mary Jane and Aunt May. And he's like, I promise I won't harm them, I won't harm anybody, I'll do what you do, I'll be a better version of you. And then Peter Parker as Doc Ock dies. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. That's when I got pissed. I'm like, you killed off Peter Parker and Doc Ock's body. I was like, you son of a bitch. Now, like I said, interesting story, but for the love of God, you should have just, switched them back and maybe gave Spider-Man like some kind of vacation or something. But the way I see it, they're not going to keep Peter Parker dead. They're going to find some weird thing that happened, or Doc Ock, the way I see it, Doc Ock are probably going to get bored and, bring him back to life or some crap like that. Which, another thing that's quite odd, before I get into this one, is that Doc Ock is like, I'm going to be the better Spider-Man, and I'm going to do better things and all this stuff. But they mention that Spider-Man's greatest villain is Dr. Octopus. Now, to me, when I was growing up, his greatest villain was always the Green Goblin. Green Goblin was always the one who, came the closest to kicking his ass more than, I guess, even more than Venom. But Doc Ock has been around a lot longer than Green Goblin, so I guess you can, because a couple of my friends are like, oh, well, Doc Ock, Green Goblin was Spider-Man's first villain. I was like, no, actually, the Chameleon was Spider-Man's first villain, and then I think it was the Vulture, and then it was Dr. Octopus. Goblin didn't come around until number 14, so, Sandman was like number 4, Electro was number 9, Mysterio was 13, so it's like there's a lot of people before the Goblin. Maybe I'm biased because the Green Goblin's my favorite villain. Then they have a couple of the stories at the end of this, like the one where it's like this guy, his name is Martin, and he's apparently Spider-Man. And then they have a Black Cat story, which was interesting. But one of the coolest things about this book is that the last 2 pages, well, a couple pages, they show every single cover ever made for Amazing Spider-Man, 1 through 700. And that's cool because that actually helps me a lot. I'm like, oh, I don't have that one. But, yeah, so, I mean, like I said, this was really interesting, but I was just disappointed because the bad guy won. After all that crap, the bad guy wins. Moving on to this, Avenging Spider-Man 15.1, which is the continuation. Basically, Doc Ock, like I said, is in Peter Parker's body, and he's, what am I going to do? He's like, Parker was smart, but he's not as, he's not a genius like me, and I'm going to redo all his stuff, and I'm going to make everything, better, and this is basically the prelude to Superior Spider-Man. He redoes the costume, and why the hell he makes claws on the gloves is beyond me. And he's got like a claw on his boots, and then he redid the eyes so they're like black blue looking, and then he's got like this, it's a pretty cool spider on the back. I gotta give that one credit. But basically, the entire thing is just him just saying how great he is over Peter Parker and how he beat him, and I beat Spider-Man. He's like, I've done things that no one ever was able to do, and and I can never tell anybody that I'm Doctor Octopus, and it wasn't bad. It was an interesting story, but I'm still just pissed that they killed off Peter Parker. Well, Doc Ock. And my fiance, she's like, well, Peter Parker's not dead. He's still there. I'm like, no, he's not. Yeah, he's right there. He's still going around in the Spider-Man books. I'm like, but it's not him. I was like, it's Dr. Octopus's mind in Spider-Man's body. Well, he's still around. They'll find something. I'm like, ay. Anyway, that is my huge review and haul that I got. I want to talk about a couple other things, actually. One thing I'm actually going to do, which I probably should have done a long time ago, but I was like, as I mentioned before, I'm trying to fill in my Amazing Spider-Man collection. I'm trying to go from 1 to 700, which is pretty tough. Especially when you get to the lower issues, like especially number 1. I did see Amazing Spider-Man number 1 in like the crappiest condition possible for like $700, and I was like, eesh. So that's gonna have to definitely wait. But I'm still doing what I'm trying to start from the end and work my way forward. But I'm still picking stuff up in between. But I have everything written down, so I know what I'm looking for. I know what I need, which a lot. But besides that, I'm actually going to start working on my Web of Spider-Man collection, because that is actually a more reasonable goal, I guess, because I'm only missing I think maybe 20 or 30 issues of Web of Spider-Man. And the more expensive Web of Spider-Mans I already have. So I'm kind of like, oh, I could pick that up for $1. I could pick that up for $0.25. So that's on top of trying to collect my Amazing Spider-Man and get that as one big collection. I'm going to work on my Web of Spider-Man and probably have that. I'm hoping to have that completed by the summer, which, who knows, money's iffy, so I got to see how it goes and see what I can get on discounts. I do know that one of the comic stores I go to, Bailey's, is going to have a huge sale on New Year's Day, 30% off, which is pretty cool. So it'd be pretty, especially the quarter issues. Hello. Yeah, it's basically, they said it's everything in the store: comics, posters, figures, statues. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to try to stock up, hopefully. And besides comics, like I said, I'm trying to get my collection in order. There's going to be a couple of changes that I was thinking of. Was what I wanted to do with the show. Basically, excuse me, hairball. Shouldn't have ate that cat. The last crack episode I did was number 64, which was showing the Spider-Man arcade game. What I'm going to do is one thing I haven't shown, which I've been trying to do, and I've been organizing it, trying to get it, nicer. For episode 65, I'm going to actually do my Wolverine collection. Hopefully, I'm going to try to do it tomorrow or later today, whichever. But that will mark the last episode of Cracka. I'm going to keep it up to 65. Now, I was like, oh my god, you're leaving. No, I'm not leaving. Yeah. It's kind of like a revamp, because the two parts of the show are kind of getting, I guess, a little crazy. Like, I have Crumbs, which is what you're watching, which, like I said, was supposed to be just an update channel. When I got a comic in or something important I wanted to discuss, that's pretty much what it was. But I'm kind of like, I haven't done, the episodes in forever, and even though technically this is an episode which is confusing, I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to make one show. And so what I'm going to do is, when I'm done with the Wolverine episode, that'll be number 65, I'm going to call it, a day with that. And I'm going to either call the show Cracka or Crumbs. I haven't decided, because Cracka is abbreviated for what the show actually is, which a lot of people know. Comics, reviews, awesome movies, comedy, anything else I think kicks ass. Whereas Crumbs, like I said, was just tidbits, pieces of info. So who knows? I might just call it Cracka. I might just call it Cracka Crumbs. I haven't decided. If people have a preference, let me know, because maybe you guys can help me decide. But anyway, so number 65 is going to be my last Cracka episode. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull a Marvel. I'm going to go to number 1 again. So it'd be like season 2, I guess. Episode 1, which is going to come around probably after the new year, which fits. New Cracka, a new episode, new way of going about things. But it's going to be a little while after, because I do have a lot of stuff still coming in. A couple orders I did from Midtown, a couple back issue orders from them. I ordered a lot of new stuff coming around, so probably like Friday or Saturdays when I'll actually have the stuff in, which is good for me to make the show, because Monday is obviously it's New Year's Eve, which I hope everyone has a great holiday. Like I said, I'm probably gonna put an episode up tomorrow just to do the review of the last two books I have, the Justice League and Aquaman, and I'll go into a New Year's thing. And obviously, like I said, Monday is New Year's Eve. Tuesday is actually New Year's Day, which actually is my fiance and myself is our anniversary. We're together 12 years on Tuesday. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be busy that day. And then the very next day is Wednesday, which is Comic Book Day, and that's my fiance's birthday. So very busy, very busy. So I definitely will make. It'll be the first episode of the new cracka. Will probably be like Friday or Saturday whenever I get the books in, and that will be episode 1. Yay! Maybe I'll do it live. I don't know. Like I said, I was gonna think about doing a cracka live, which who knows, might be cool. Make the first episode live. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. We'll see. But anyway, this thing has gone on long enough. But I hope you enjoyed the reviews. I hope you like the books that I got. I sure as hell did. Like I said, Spider-Man. It was cool. It was interesting, and I just hope, which I know with Marvel, with any superhero, they never really stay dead. As for Superior Spider-Man, I don't know. It's interesting. Like I said, I'm definitely getting number 1 because I want to see how it goes. I might get a few issues just to see how it is. But I don't know how long they're going to keep it up. Like, it all depends. Like, it is interesting to see how they're going to do it, but I think, somewhere down the line, maybe like number 50 or 100, they'll bring back Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and get him out of there. Get rid of Doc Ock. Because it is kind of interesting, because Avenging Spider-Man now is going to have Doc Ock as Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man's obviously Doc Ock. The Avengers is going to have Doc Ock. So it's going to be kind of interesting how he coexists with them. But anyway, long enough review as it is. It's actually snowing out, which is quite nice. I got a chance to snuggle up and read my books. And I'm going to go read the Justice League and Aquaman. And finish... I'm going to film Wolverine for episode 65 so I can get everything all together. As always, it's not the size of your man cave that matters. It's what you have in it. Later.